session for, so you're going to get 2 recordings. So I'm starting this recording now. So we'll talk about the goal setting, and I'm going to get into that prospecting behavior. So I'm going to go through the general concept of goal setting first. This is, and you have it in your handouts. It's a little hard to expand, but when we start talking about Sandler, and you got this from the very first session, and you'll see this in probably 50% of the sessions we do. This is an expanded form of our behavior, attitude, technique triangle, which we go before. And just to give a little bit of insight to it, what we find is at the top of the triangle is this concept called attitude. And in your attitude, it's not going to let me do it. Here we go. Got lucky. Your attitude really consists of certain areas. It talks about the you triangle. There's you, how you feel about the company, and how you feel about your marketplace, where things are going. And the top of the attitude, the highest level there, and we're not going to get into this in these 4 sessions, but we will get into this somewhere. What we find is how you feel and how you produce personally really is driven by how you feel about yourself and self-concept and all those things. And we'll get into that. And you guys have seen this before. All you have to do is go past a yoga place or a martial arts place or study Eastern philosophy. And it really comes down to it's mind, body, spirit. And the thing I tell everybody, they say, well, I signed up for a sales training class and you're telling me about exercise. You're telling me about personal growth and development and those things. And again, are you feeding each every day, right? Are you feeding your body every day to have the energy so you could do the things you need to do to be successful in your personal and business practice? Are you feeding your mind, right? What we know is if you're not growing, you're dying, right? If you're not continuously feeding your mind with tactic strategies, how to be better at whatever it is you choose to do, you're slumping. And then spiritually, and that means different things to everybody. It could be religious. It could be just how being on a lake fishing, for crying out loud. It could be yoga. It could be meditation. It could be a whole bunch of other things. But all these things kind of blend together that are your driver of how you perform in all different areas. So this attitude, we know 80% of success, a lot of people have told us, a lot of studies comes from your attitude and how you feel. I'm just going to touch on this, but here's what we also know. A lot of times we're going to spend most of our time here on the technique triangle. Technique triangle, your personal presence. By the way, this is in your book. If you just want to write it down and review this triangle later, it is in your book on page 102. So you can refer to the whole triangle. You already have it. It's blown up in your book on page 102. I'm just going to spend a few minutes on it. Really gets into technically working smarter, not harder. Your personal presence, your how you qualify, paying budget decision, and then how you close deals and how you fulfill those deals. What we're going to talk about for the next hour really is this behavior triangle. And what we know is, although the bulk of our success comes from our personal perspective, how we feel, our attitude. Behavior changes how you feel, okay? It's how you feel can sometimes impact how you act, but how you act will always impact how you feel. So what we want to really do is really understand the concept of goal setting, which I'll go through over the next 50 minutes. And then I want to put together, we'll wrap it up with really how do I put together a behavior pattern to determine what I need to do to hit whatever numbers, and I firmly believe that, whatever numbers of meters, whatever numbers of success performance I want in just about any role that I choose to play in this overall process. And this really comes down to the concept of long-term goals, short-term goals daily. What do you need to do every single day to be effective? And that's what I have to ask myself. What do I need to do? What are I must-have non-negotiable behaviors, and we'll explain what that means, that need to be done every day so I know I'm on track, or I need to adjust some higher. Sometimes I can pull back a little bit to be successful on the goals that I choose to put down there. We'll talk a little bit about how we're going to build the plan, track the plan, and fine-tune the plan. And this tracking, I always say that, I don't know about you guys, but this is one of my flaws. I know that if I don't track what I do, I ain't doing it. And after training people and working people and managing people for 25 years, I found that that's pretty common. And here's what I mean by that. I might say, listen, I need to prospect every day to hit the numbers I want to hit year over year, day over day, month over month. And so, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make 20 prospecting phone calls a day, either to existing or new clients or new contacts. Okay, I need 20 touches a day, we call them. And so here's what happens. Monday, I get real busy, just came back from vacation, putting together a couple programs I got to do this week, delivering 2 programs that I do every Monday morning. I get busy. I don't get my 20,000. I say, fine, I'll do it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll do 25 a day. It'll catch me up. Tuesday comes in. Oh my gosh, I had an emergency come up. I had to go. I'm doing a deal with the government. I got to do all this paperwork. I got some family stuff that I had to take care of. And then I had to start preparing for this program and another program I'm doing later in the week. Didn't get to it Tuesday. Wednesday come. I'm delivering this program, and all of a sudden 2 emergency meetings came up in the afternoon. Son of a gun, Wednesday come up. I didn't do it again Wednesday. Well, when Thursday comes, I said, I am so far behind. Why don't I just take this time, catch up, and I'll just do it next week. So I give myself a break for a week. Monday comes. Oh my God, I got 2 training programs, right? And then every Thursday I say, let me just give myself a break. And Friday comes and I'm not going to get to it. I'll do it Monday. Now, think about it. I was on vacation last week. A week before, I was preparing for vacation. Had to get a lot of stuff done before I got on vacation. I just came back from vacation. How many weeks in a row did I do my 20 calls? 3 weeks went by. But in my mind, I lied to myself. I do 20 dials a day, baby. Guess what? For 3 weeks, I haven't. And I wonder why my sales and pipeline dropped off. Is it just me, or is that happened to other people? Probably just me, right? The only way I know, and then when my numbers aren't where they need to be, I say, well, it must be the economy. Nobody's doing sales training. Budgets are tight. Am I out of my mind? No, it is me, and I didn't do what I needed to do to be successful. And that's what we find people tend to do. If you don't track it, you tend to make excuses why it's not happening, and it's never me. So we externalize all these challenges. So what we want to be able to do is establish what is the discipline you need to put in place to do what you know you need to do to map out and to be successful in your behavior, right? It's funny. And I don't know why so few people do this, but you ever see that show, How to Become a Millionaire? And I tell everybody in their 20s who I train a lot of 20-somethings, I said, listen, I get it. $1 million ain't what it used to be. But I'll take it, okay? So if you're 20 years old, let's say you want to have $1 million in a bank by the age of 60, 40 years. Long time frame, right? How much money do you think a 20-year-old, 22-year-old to 62, let's say it that, you just got out of college, a 22-year-old, how much money does that person need to save a day to become a millionaire, to have $1 million in a bank? Tax-free, by the way. Well, maybe not tax-free. Depends. Right.
A couple bucks.
Huh. Anybody been to Burger King or McDonald's lately or in the past year? Right? What's a lunch cost at McDonald's? Fries, hamburger, maybe a apple pie dessert, and a Coke.
$4.
No, when's the last time you've been at McDonald's? Right?
$8.
It's about 10 or 10, 11 bucks, right? For $12.83 a day. That's right, $12.83 a day. over 40 years with compound interest, it is $1 million. Okay? Of 7% compound interest, which is the historical average. And I could show you on paper, so you don't have to search me, $12.83. Most people blow $12.83 a day for breakfast and lunch, 2 cups of Starbucks, right? Why do so few people do it? It's all discipline. And nobody ever teaches them that. But it's not that hard. Same thing with everything we're doing. If you just do the things we lay out for you and you lay out for yourself, it's not that hard. So let's talk about goal setting.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
How many years was that again? I'm just
40. 40. Okay. I have a financial calculator. I could show you. I could show it to you because I know you're going to fact check me. But then that's good.
I'm just doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not fact checking, just for myself. Yeah.
7% interest over 40 years, $12.83 is $1 million. So yeah. It's amazing.
I need to stop going to McDonald's and Burger King.
And just put it in a piggy bank, right? When you get $1,000, put it into the stock market, and it'll probably be a hell of a lot more, even though the stock market goes up and down. But that's a historical average of returns in equities over the past 100 years. So it's amazing. But yeah, I'll break it down for you if you want. So basically, your business and life performing exactly today as you've designed them. And the first time I heard that statement, I got furious. I said, I'm doing bad breaks. No, at the end of the day, the choices I made, the goals that I set, high or low, have put me wherever I am in my life at that time. So if you want to have a different result, you have to put together a different design. Okay? Wherever you are in life, it is never too late. Your destiny is not a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. You choose your destiny. Sure, the world's going to throw stuff at you. Somebody told me years ago that you're going to have 3 major setbacks a year. Plan for them, expect them, work around them, right? They're coming, right? Nobody, it's like, it's always going to be there. So don't be shocked when they show up. And then the other thing, and the most important thing we'll talk about, is you cannot manage what you can't control. So here's my question to you guys. If what we have found is, well, let me ask you this. Why do people avoid goal setting and clear goal setting? Because here's what we found out. And let me give you an example. They did a study of people who put together clearly defined goals. And it was I think it was 1950 something, 52 study, and I'm not sure, so that you can't quote me on it, from Harvard University, and they've done most. And they went and they found out, and we'll go through the acronym of SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound. They looked at the graduating class at Harvard University, not a bad school if you like Ivy League or could afford it. And they said, what percentage of the students had clearly defined goals for the next 20 years? What do you think the number is? Harvard's a pretty good school, right? What do you think the number was? Carl, what do you think the number of people that actually had those goals were?
Percentage?
Yeah.
20?
Yeah. Shockingly, only 3%, which is, by the way, the national average or global average. Only 3% of the world population has clearly defined. I'm not talking about I get out of bed in the morning. I'm talking about clearly defined, laid out goals. About 3 to 5% of the population. Well, they found 3%, and they went back in 1970 something, 72 I think it was, and they looked at the results of those people who had that, and it was shocking. They said those 3% carried 80% of the wealth of the entire university, right? But when you start looking at the world, the economy, what percentage of the wealth is held in the top 5% of people in a wealth area? So we know goals have a huge impact on people's lives if they're done properly and if they're done consistently. So my question is, why do so many people avoid them? What do you think? Give me some feedback on this. Matt, why do you think so many people avoid goal setting?
They're going to be accountable, and
Yeah, nobody wants to be held accountable. You can't tell me what to do, right? So I'm going to avoid it. If I don't have goals, you can't hold me accountable, right? Lucas, what do you think? Why do you think so many people are avoiding of it?
Afraid.
Afraid of?
Setting a goal, not reaching it, failing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to fail. I don't want to
be.
be criticized. So if I don't set goals, you can't hold me accountable. I can't be called a loser if I don't set a goal. Ha! Gotcha.
Then it's almost like in society, it's maybe like now, like, oh, I'm going to set this goal to, we'll use the $1 million as an example.
Yeah.
And people are out there, they want you to fail, they'll make fun of you for having that goal. And then whether you keep it or not, but some people are, oh, maybe he's right, or I'm just being, I'm stupid for thinking I can do that.
Yeah, so they attack you and criticize you for having goals. So we're worried about how we'll be criticized by other people. Or here's the other opposite. They set a goal so high and so unrealistic that they don't have to be held accountable because they haven't mapped out the plan. They say, that was just a dream. So wasn't that important to them? Or they have other people's goals assigned to them. They're not their own personal goals. Most people have goals for business, but they don't do it in their personal life. So it really gets cumbersome. But here's what happens. But yeah, you're all dead on. Number time, they use the excuse of there's time and effort. It takes energy and effort and thought, which is people avoid. I think, Lucas, you mentioned it, fear of success, and Matt too, fear of failure, fear of success. Actually, yes, fear of success is a real thing. People are afraid that if they are too successful, they will be criticized for it, or they will lose who they are, a sense of who they are, which is a ridiculous statement. I always tell people, if you have too much money, you can always give it away. What's wrong with you? Okay. Next, they conflict their beliefs and their values. We'll talk a little bit about that. In another time, I'll get into that in more detail. Some people don't understand their values. So they set goals where they're incapable of, where they put their beliefs and values are in conflict. Good example. Somebody who has to travel in a position, has to travel consistently 80% of their time, being on a plane, travel internationally, and never be home. Meanwhile, they want to have a close, loving relationship, and they just had 2 kids. Conflict, okay? Everybody's values are allowed to be different. But if you don't know what your values are, you're apt to have certain conflicting elements of goals. You mentioned it before, Matt said accountability. Nobody wants to be held accountable. And then here's the other piece. They never really learned how. So what we're going to talk a little bit about is this whole concept of goal setting, which fits in this behavior triangle. But you really have to be inspired from the attitude and and have the skill sets from the technique to make everything happen. So here's what we have found is, number one, and I always like this, if you have somebody else, somebody who's avoiding goals, this statement always kind of got me out of bed in the morning. If you don't have your own goals, you are part of somebody else's plan. Right? There's only 2 choices. You have your own plan or you got somebody else's. And that's why goal setters are so good at achieving their goals, because if it's only 3%, 97 out of 100 people are waiting around for somebody to tell them what to do, because I ain't doing anything with my life. I might as well help you get your goals, your dreams acquired. See how that works? Next, you can't manage anything you can't control. And if you don't track it, you're probably not doing it. Most people set goals, put them in a drawer, look at them January or December 31st of the following year for New Year's Eve. Say, oh, hey, these were good last year. I didn't do anything. I might as well get them this year. Put them back in a drawer. Okay. And last, and here's the thing that I'm going to ask you guys to do. At the end of today, I want you to start defining what are some non-negotiable behaviors that you will commit to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve in this overall process. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's go through a couple things, and I'll get into that shortly, what non-negotiable behaviors are. So let me just define, this is a theoretical element. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because we could spend a whole day just on this sheet. But it is important to at least understand the concept that you probably heard before the concept of goals must be smarter, which is specific, measurable, achievable, right? It's not, I want to have more money. It's, I am going to have X dollars in my bank account at age Y. Okay. Okay, good. Now I have a goal. Now I can put a plan together. Can I measure that? Yes, I can measure where I'm incrementally growing. It could be sales, number of meters. Is it achievable? As I said before, some people will say, I want to have $1 billion. Good. Okay. Well, what are you doing to get there? I don't know. Play the lottery. Well, they don't pay off billions of dollars. So it's not really based on what you're willing to do going to get you there. Time bound, yes. Realistic, yes. And then here's one that we've added a couple years ago, this rewarding and enjoyable. If you really want to motivate yourself to achieve something, you know, everything takes sacrifice, everything takes work. And if you're not enjoying it, I really got a question, why are you doing it? So these are kind of things that we want to do. Secondly, if they're not written down, you don't have a goal. I don't care, either in my head. If they're not written down, you don't have a goal, because there's a certain level of accountability that takes place having it written down where you could look at it and show it to yourself or show it to somebody else and help somebody guide you through that process. They got to be long and short term. The short term are going to drive your long term. Now, here's the one that always throws people off. Do people mostly have professional or personal goals? Okay, Mark, what do you think about that? Are people more apt to have professional or personal goals?
I would say more people are driven because it's all money driven.
Okay, I'm sorry, you blanked out there. I didn't hear you. You would say what?
You're making me repeat it. No.
Yeah.
Professional, I would say, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm making you repeat, but you actually did blank out, so it kind of worked out just perfectly. Yeah, most people have professional goals because often they're assigned by a management structure or mentor or management structure that's in place. So people are pretty good about having these. But the problem is when they're only professional, there's no emotional driver to it. It's you know, what do you think, John Cody, what do you think is more important, professional or personal goals?
I think your personal goals follow through and carry over into your professional goals.
Yeah.
You don't reach your personal goals without being making your professional goals.
Yeah, so what happens is a lot of times we focus on our professional goals, but we fail to write down our personal goals, where this is really where your motivation comes from, because this is about you and your life and where you want to go in your life and why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you busting your butt every morning so the company gets rich? Well, what about you? You want to be rich. You want to go on vacation. You want to enjoy time with your family. You want to have a bigger house. You want to send your kids to good schools. These are stuff that are emotional drivers of what's important to you. So without personal goals, if you really are stretching yourself, I have to ask, you know, I really got to ask, why are you doing this? And if you don't have a why, it's really hard to stay consistent and get you in that arena. So what we're talking about here is, you know, goals. Another thing to talk about is, you know, they should fit and they can fit both tangible and intangible. Intangible goals are stuff that you can see, touch, feel, measure. The intangible goals, even though I had that smarter criteria, you really got to keep in mind is, what's an intangible goal? Kevin, what would an intangible goal be?
Intangible goal, saving $1 million.
Well, that could be more, that's more tangible because I could see $1 million, right?
But it all depends where you set up your goal. Maybe 900,000 will make you happy.
Okay. But when I think of intangible goals, I might think of something along the lines is, you know, better relationships with my family. You know, it's more the emotional, non-measurable goals. Well, how do you measure better relationship with your family? I don't know. It's a little harder to measure. But yet, if I could spend time, my goal to support that might be, I don't know, I'm going to take my wife out for dinner, you know, after COVID once a week. Or I'm going to block off one afternoon every Saturday just to be with my son, to do whatever, fishing, golfing, kayaking, whatever it is. just to have that time to develop those relationships. These are all extremely important. So you don't want to lose sight of them. And it could fit under whatever your value system is. Your value could be social, work, family, spirituality, financial, education. There's a lot of different areas there. But the bottom line is most highly successful people have 3, rarely more than 5 big picture goals, okay? If you have too many goals, it tends to dilute the focus. And their feeling has always been, if I could focus on these 3, everybody around me gets their needs taken care of, including me. If I've got 27 goals, I'm bouncing around like a pinball machine in 27 different directions, and I'm unfocused. So we try to block that down and narrow that down so it's not too focused. So basically, here's where you are. We have goals. We have strategy, and then we have action behavior. That is a basic structure, okay? So let me give you an example. I'm going to give you 2 fundamental processes, 2 fundamental structures, right, for goals. So like, for instance, one of my goals, and this is how easy it is. I could set up a goal going into the summertime. Let's say it's January, February, and I say, listen, over the winter, I've gained a little weight. I want to get back in shape. I want my clothes to fit better, and I'm going in. I want to look good for the summer. So let's say I want a simple fundamental goal might be something like, I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, fine. Better health, right? Because one of my values is good health. So what can I do if I'm going to lose 10 pounds? What are 2 or 3 different strategies that I might be able to use? Carl, what are 2 or 3 different strategies that I might be able to use to lose 10 pounds? You're muted.
Okay. To lose 10 pounds would be to eat better.
All right, yeah. So I might say diet. And it doesn't mean not eat. It means eat different. Okay. What else?
And exercise on a regular basis. Maybe come up with a schedule, a goal for daily exercise.
Beautiful. Exercise. Good. And then what else? Anything else? Mary, can you help them out? Is there anything else that I might put in here? It's one that nobody thinks about, by the way.
Write it down.
Write it down, right? Well, that's kind of a practice. You have to have this written down so you see it every day. I'm going to put down, how about rest? Shut down. You know, what some people don't realize is, being able to rest and being able to get enough sleep actually affects your biology. So, but the one most people is exercise and diet. So now that I have my strategy in place here, now I have to put my behaviors in place. What specific behaviors am I going to write down or do? So I might say something like, and here's what I need you to start thinking about. Do not put down a behavior that's beyond what you're capable of doing. Again, I will repeat, do not list a behavior that's beyond your capabilities. One of my non-negotiable, now, so I got a bad back. It's my pain indicator. When I get too heavy, my back hurts, I don't sleep well, everything. So what I need to do is I have a non-negotiable behavior of every single day. Non-negotiable. What does non-negotiable mean, Mary?
Means you have to do it.
I got to do it. It's not like, it's like brushing your teeth. You ain't leaving the house unless you brush your teeth.
Right.
It's not negotiable, okay? I have a non-negotiable exercise of 15 minutes every single day. Not like 3 times a week, not because I'm a habitual person. I need habit, I need structure, or else I don't do it. So my non-negotiable behavior is 15 minutes a day. Now, you might say that's not enough to get in shape. I said, you're right, but it's a great holding place. I could do more, I just can't do less. So I'm pretty darn good. Probably out of 365 days a year, I probably, and I could promise you this, I probably hit it 363 days a year where I am doing a minimum of 15 minutes exercise. And that might be stretching in my office, doing a couple squats, stretching, whatever. 15 minutes, which generally consists of 10 minutes minimum, 10 minutes on my treadmill at home, I got one, 5 minutes of stretching, right, and sit-ups. Fine. Now, I usually will go 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but if I got that starting point, the rest will take care of itself. And I generally do it a lot more than 15 minutes. But as long as I have that holding place of non-guilt-free 15, if I have a 15 minutes in, I can move through the day guilt-free. What are you doing from a prospecting standpoint to make sure you're filling your pipeline guilt-free? So if I do, so a couple things I could put down here. For instance, my strategy for diet might be something as simple as bring lunch. When I don't go out to eat, I save time, I save money, and, right, I eat healthier. I bring my lunch every day. It became a habit, okay? Non-negotiable exercise, 15 minutes. And then sleep. I get to bed at 11 p.m. That's my shut it off, get to bed. I get up at 5:30 every day. I sleep a little more on things, but that is, if I stay up beyond 11 p.m., I feel like crap. If I don't exercise, my back hurts, I feel terrible. And if I go out to eat for lunch, I feel lousy. It's really strange, but this is a little thing like this immediately affected my 10 pounds, which actually turned into 15. Fascinating, right? Little things, not big moves. You don't need a big move. So what in your life can drive that? So let me ask you this question. As you're looking through this process, if it's so easy, and it is, why do so few people do it? If it's so easy to have $1 million in the bank, if it's so easy to be in good physical condition with minimal behaviors, why do so few people do it? Who can help me out with that?
Maybe they really don't want it.
They don't want it. Good. What else?
They don't want
Lazy.
Yeah, they don't want it. They don't have a vision. Nobody taught them how. All those things that we talked about before. I have a philosophy that I say, you know, it really deals with, I think a lot of people really don't understand, and ties into what you said, Carl. They really don't have a vision. I define vision with 2 phases. I define vision as understanding, you know, your dreams and your values. What's important to you? Do you really understand what your values are? Dreams could be something as simple as, and what I say is dream is your passion. What are you passionate about? Okay? Are you putting a visual image of what you could be or what could happen in your life? Do you have a dream board? I think that's where people started telling you years ago, stop dreaming, get over it. That's impossible. You could never have that. I think that is insane. Why would you destroy somebody like that? Have your dreams. The other thing is, what is your values? What's important to you? Now, what's a value? What's a value? What are your values? Mary, what's a value? What's something that you value in your life?
Value my family.
Yeah. It could be family. It could be your spirituality. It could be money. It could be fun. It could be travel. It could be education. There's a whole lot of stuff. Have you ever taken the time to prioritize your values? Once you understand your four core values, then you start building, and I'm going to give you an exercise, a homework exercise to let you play with. We won't have time today, but that's going to be your mind map for goal setting. But we'll give that to you. We're not going to go through it today. We might touch base on it next time. But really, once you understand what's important to you, listen, my 4 core values, they should be different from yours. Yesterday, I did the exercise. Somebody's core values for her were spirituality, family, and then wealth. Cool, right? Mine are health, right? Family, and then wealth, right? Her values and my values are different. That's okay. But we respect each other and how that process goes. Now that we have that, are your goals built around your values? And do you have the secondary goals to support those things? If I don't have enough financial resources, I can't take care of my family. I can't go on vacations. I can't build all those wonderful relationships, right? Those are the kind of things that really we need to be aware of. So what I want you to do is really start thinking about what do we need to do personally. So here's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you, if you have this, and I'm going to, you'll be able to do it, but here's kind of the exercise I want you to start thinking about. If you look at your sheets, just to give you a little bit more, I put together this little exercise. It's called your goals mind map. And what I want you to do is, well, why don't we just do it now? And I'm going to give you maybe 15 seconds to start filling certain things out. Think about what's important to you. You could fill in the core the core values later. But what I want you to start thinking about here is, and I'll give you a few things. First step, what are your goals? What are the top 2 or 3 things you want to accomplish? And I'm going to give you 15 seconds for each, so don't overthink it. You could fill in it place later. Over the next 3 to 6 months, what are your goals? What are the top 2 to 3 things you want to accomplish, either personally or professionally? Either one goes. Go, 15 seconds. Next 3 to 6 months. Don't overthink it. You could change it. It's not cast in stone. Next, go to the 1-year category. What are the personal or professional goals that you would like to accomplish in the next 12 months? This time next year, September 2021, what are 3 things that you would like to accomplish in the next year? Don't overthink it. You could change it. Just list the first thing that comes to your mind. Please don't put down win the lottery. Don't overthink. Just have something on paper. I don't care what it is. Third, 3 to 5 year plan. What do you want to accomplish? Where do you want to be in your business or your personal life in the next 3 to 5 years? Write 2 or 3 things down. Next, 10 to 15 year period. What do you want in your life in the 10 to 15 period range? And what I love about this one is very few people could argue with what your goals are 10 years away or more. Where do you want to be? What do you want personally or professional in the next 10 to 15 years? Write 2 or 3 things down. And last, lifetime goals, right? Some people have actually put 100 years down. I won't tell you who they are till later, but what do you want to have accomplished in your lifetime? It might be whatever you choose your lifetime to be, right? 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Whatever your lifetime is, what are some of the key things you want to be able to look back and say, I did this in my lifetime? Now, guess what? You guys have just, in this 1 minute period, put more in goal setting than 75% of the population, okay, in this 4 minute period. Now, how do you go back and for those things that kind of fit where you want to go in life, put your strategy in place for that? So real quick, anybody find something, where did you struggle? Where did you find challenges in this exercise? Where did you find challenges in this exercise? Short-term or longer-term goals? John, Cody, short term or longer term did you struggle more?
Shorter term, I struggle. I know where I want to be long term. Shorter term, it's a little more difficult, put a little more thought into it.
Yeah, the nice part is with longer term, you could always work backwards. And I always find working backwards is easy. What most people is start short term and they don't know where they want to go long term. But if you started long term, you could always bring that backwards, and that's a valuable thing. Good. Kevin, where did you struggle, if at anywhere? And then I'll go to a matter.
I struggle the other way, longer terms.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, it's funny. Here's a fun exercise. Write down the top 100 things that you want to accomplish, your bucket list in your lifetime. Don't overthink it. Just put stuff down. I promise you, once you get to about 20 or 30, you'll start making stuff up. It's hard. Now, the other side is you'll find after you write it down on paper, a year from now, you'll look at it and say, I didn't really want to do that. But you start narrowing it down. Most people could come up with 5 to 10 things that they really want to do, and then you stick it in here. Okay. Matt, where did you struggle, if anywhere?
Absolutely on the more short term.
On more short term. So better long term than getting short term. All right, good. So that's it. If you struggled on the short term, start with the long term and start working backwards. I had a friend, and here's what he did. Now, and you can look him up on the internet. His name is Rich Stinson. He was a roommate of mine for 5 years in college. We're still in really close contact, still one of my best friends. Rich runs a $6 billion company called Southwire in Atlanta, Georgia. And I had dinner with him probably about 2 years ago, and I'm sitting down with him. It's actually my birthday. And we're having dinner, right? I had to be traveling. I had a training program that day down in Atlanta. And I said, Rich, I've always wanted to ask you this. When did you make a decision to be CEO of a $1 billion+ organization? And he told me, he says, when I was 23, I had an assignment in Japan. I remember going to see him in Japan right after college. He says, and right there, I had a lot of time to think. And I said, what would it take? And I love those words. What would it take to be CEO? At that time, he's working for Eaton Corporation. CEO of Eaton. He says, now I'm not CEO of Eaton. I'm CEO of Southwire. But hey, listen, 20 billion, 6 billion, who's complaining? He says, and I literally wrote down the steps in the process of where I needed to be every 5 years to be on the track to be CEO. And he sent me the paper, but he said, I still got it. I said, can you copy it and send it to me? And so he sent it over to me, a copy of it. And it was fascinating. Once you have your long term, the short term comes down to a series of steps. Where do you want to be? So that's cool. But as we get into the coaching next year, I'll help all of you with this. But it's not a hard process if you just map it out in this. But take a look at that, play with that exercise, and see where you go from there. And then we'll even teach you how to blend it to some of your core values. So here's where we got to go. We got a little time. So what I want to do is at some point next year, you're going to be starting to get goals of where we need to go from a meter standpoint. How many meters do you need to get? So I'm going to lay out the structure here. Then I'll be working with Mark and Carl and Gary to help you start putting together your own playbook, your own cookbook of how do we get there. But I'll give you the template now, and then I'll start working with all of you at some point to try to get there. So let's talk about this. John, what's a cookbook? John Johnson, what's a cookbook?
It's a book that tells you recipes to make something that you want or need.
Yeah. Simple recipe. It's a recipe book. And if you were trying to make a cake, right? What would be in the cookbook? Have you ever looked at a recipe or done anything along those lines? Have you put together a recipe or used a recipe at some point? Sure. Can you tell me what was in it? Like not specifics, but the steps in the process?
Yeah, I mean, initially it tells you what ingredients you need.
Yeah, so it tells you the ingredients.
And so you get your ingredients, and then it gives you a step-by-step of how to prepare the ingredients right up to the finished product.
Beautiful. So you have ingredients, you have volumes of the ingredients, you have order of putting the ingredients in, you have preparation steps, mix it up, put in this, prepare oven, put it to a certain temperature, right? And then take out at the end of a certain period of time, and you have an end result, right? So we've all done something like that at some point. So what I'm going to talk to you about is the concept of a success cookbook. So success cookbook comes up, A, define exactly what you want to accomplish. Let's say you're at 500 meters or 400 meters. You want a 20% growth. You want to get to 480 meters for the year. And I'm just picking numbers. I don't know what your real numbers are. So you got to get to 4, but that's 20%. How am I going to do that? Okay, work harder. That's not a solution. That's not a cookbook. What we need to do is determine the number of sales you need to meet that goal. Okay. Right? Just like I got 10 pounds, what is my strategy to meet that, to get those 10 pounds? Now, the key is most people just work backwards and hope, or work forwards and hope they get it. Well, if I just knock on X number of doors, ask for a certain number of referrals, well, how many? I don't know. As many as I can. That's not a cookbook. Throw as many eggs as you want. See what happens. A waste of time. But we want to work backwards, begin with the end in mind, and figure out what the steps in the process are. And then here's what I want to do, and here's what I'm going to ask you guys to do. List what are the potential activities, behaviors, we call them, that need to be achieved to get to stage 1 in that process. Okay? And next, calculate the volume of the 4 to 8 activities that you in stage 1, and decide if that number is realistic. So here's what I want to do, just in the interest of time, because I want to get you out on time. What are some of the activities that you guys can do that would drive, and I'm going to ask everybody here, that would drive, well, tell you what, let's do a super quick breakout room. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do this, okay? Mark and Carl, you guys take the groups. I want you to list all the different activities that you could put together that would drive introductions to that would lead you to the next steps in the process of getting a meter, okay? Such as it might be, let me make sure. Yeah. So Mark, you run your group, and these are not your groups, these are mixed up. Carl, you run your group, so you guys are the writers. Come together with some of the lists, and they might include general leads from marketing. It might be idle services, right? It might be something from contractors. So what are some of the things that you guys have 100% control over that you could do that would drive leads? I'm only giving you 3 minutes for this, or 4 minutes for this. So come up with the greatest list, and then we'll put it on your cookbook. Ready? See you in 4 minutes. All right. All right. So Mark, what did you guys come up with on your list?
We came up with more canvassing of areas
Good.
that currently don't have Maine, with Survey Monkey, letters, door knocking, more rebates and financing to work with marketing with that, a more efficient design team internally that was offered. Also introducing ourselves to local realtors, letting them know what we handle, who handles what, and that we're out there. We're visible. We have a face in the community. Yep. Chamber of Commerce is more representation there, and working with community events, trade shows, and as always the HVAC contractors.
Man, that's been, yeah, great stuff. A lot of stuff. Carl, anything to add to that?
Sure. One great suggestion was to call previous customers who converted and see if they're satisfied. Maybe ask for a referral. I mean, it could be somebody that converted last winter. How was your winter? Did everything go well? Do you know anybody who might be interested in speaking with me?
Well, it's funny, just go back to the referral script you went to. By the way, usually when somebody converts, they talk about several other people that they've had this experience with. Who do you know, friends, family, neighbors, that might benefit from a conversation with us? You know,
Yep.
you have the script, it fits even after the fact.
Yep. So we thought about networking with professional organizations and contractors, calling on architects and engineers to discuss any upcoming projects to see what they're specifying.
Beautiful.
Get in at the beginning, the ground floor, when things are actually being conceived. Work our backlogs. We have backlogs of people who were interested in the past.
Yep.
You know, for some reason they didn't convert 2 years ago, but doesn't mean, you know, that they're not ready now, or might be more open or in a better financial position to consider converting.
Good. So what I want to do, let me kind of show you where we're going to go with this. So basically I look at prospecting as kind of a TP, right? And basically we're all looking to be at this apex, which is your ideal prospect. And what kind of sticks can lead you to this. Now, if you have too many, it's hard to track them. If you have too few, you're putting too many eggs in one basket, to use an analogy. So what we've done is put together what we call our prospecting cookbook. And I have in your handouts one that's designed for you. And here's the concept. Based on, let's say you need to get 50 new deals a year. The concept is there is a series of steps, if you work backwards, based on conversion ratios of how many you need to do here to get to here. So if I could teach you how to focus on conversations that will lead you statistically to this next step, that gets you to the place you need to be. So let me show you what yours kind of looks like. And then what we'll do is add the things that you need from this standpoint. So here's what yours looks like, and here's what we've designed for your particular business. Now, I'll change. I know yours is a little different from the South Jersey group. Let's say you need 480 meters a year. You say, oh my God, that's 20% more than I've got. All right, well, let's just break it down. What does that mean? Means I got to get, 40 per month. Okay. I can get my head around 40 per month, and based on what I've been doing, I know what I'm typically at. But let's figure out what the steps in the process are. First step is we go backwards. From the standpoint of 48, we go backwards. What is the last step before you get a meter? We have an application or a directionnaire. They might be the same thing in your business. And if I'm using different terminology, we'll clean it up. Carl and Mark will fix me. Got it. So I know 95% of the time, once I get an application or a directionnaire, it converts and a meter goes in. Cool. So that tells me I've got to get a couple extra, per week. It might be 10 per week or 11 per week, because every once in a while one falls off or somebody doesn't move forward. Let's go backwards. Prior to that, there's some kind of appointment, a more in-depth discussion. Sometimes it just happens right there in the in-depth discussion. Well, we also got about 95% of the time that might happen. Got it, right? That means I've got to get maybe 12 a week instead of 11 per week. Let's work backwards. How many of my initial conversations actually will convert? So, well, they're all different. If I get a lead for a new RGS or a new meter that somebody wants to convert, that's pretty high. Idle services, you're turning it on. That's super high. But when I start accumulating all them, and combine them with some other things, like I might have got an introduction for a referral from an existing client. That might be 50%. I might simply find a street that has a lot of meters on it. This is Mo's world. Okay? Well, that might be 20%. How about when I go to a neighborhood and I walk across the street and knock? 2 to the right, 2 to the left, 2 across the street, right, 2 across the street, left, 4 across the street. Boom. Put a door hanger on. That might have another. You talk about past lead follow-up. A lot of those people are not going to convert for a year or two, but we want to keep them top of mind. Now's the time. It might be some contractor contacts. Who gets a lot of business from contractors calling them up? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Well, are you constantly introducing yourself to new contractors, letting them know that if they have somebody who has an oil or propane tank, you'd be happy to, if they provide the introduction, call them and at least share with them what it looks like if they at some point in the future want to convert. See, you become their salesperson. They're going to love you for this, for crying out loud. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to be salespeople. And they see you more of as an alliance or an ally. So how many introductions to contractors do you make with yourself when you see a new contractor till you call them up and say, hey, listen, I noticed you're working on Smith Street. I noticed there's a lot of tanks there. If anybody, any of those people that you know would like to know more about gas, I'm the person to call. Reach out to them. This is all going to drive your opportunities. So what I want us to do between now and next time we get together, start thinking about what are the non-negotiable behaviors that we could start committing to every week that will get us that one more lead a week. See, and here's my deal, and I tell this to all the groups I work with. If I could help you guys do insert 1 or 2 tactics, a referral, reaching out to a contractor, reminding a contractor that you're at their disposal to be their sales team, walking into a realtor, talking to any realtors, or introducing yourself once a month to a realtors group that meets every Wednesday in the office. They all talk about the new listings. Do a little demo for them. 1 meter a week, 50 meters a year. If I could help everybody here get 50 more meters a year, what would that do to your bottom line? Little things are going to have a major impact. So what we want to be able to do is put together your cookbook. You might say, hey, listen, that extra 40 meters a year is a lot. Fine. Well, how about stopping into 1 realtor a week? How about stopping in and just dropping off some rebate information at 2 contractors that you already know to let them know some of their clients might benefit from this? How about picking up the phone every once in a while or stopping in when you see some flipper bought a house to say, hey, listen, just so you know, I'm here for you or for the next owner, right? Those kind of things will have a major impact on some of the things you're doing. So you all have this. What I want to start doing is have you guys start filling out this, and I'll work with Carl and Mark to really start taking a look at this. And then when we get into next year's coaching sessions, we'll start breaking this down, because Mary, your cookbook is going to be different from Lucas's. It's going to be different from John's. It's going to be different from Mo's. But everybody should have a list of non-negotiable behaviors that they're going to commit to that drives the business from wherever it is here, wherever it is, whoops, whatever these things are, right, to get more of these things. So that's kind of the concept of a cookbook, which we're going to drill down into at some point. It's all self-accountability. So that's the beauty of goal setting, because every goal you have could be broken down to a cookbook. See how that works? So with that said, what I want you guys to do, any questions on this concept? Because we're about to wrap it up now. You understand the concept? So that's what I want you to do. So you already have these list of activities you can do. Your job is to start listing, everybody pick 4 to 8 activities I would start with 4 that you feel that you could commit to Carl or Mark to say, every week I'm going to ask for 5 referrals. Every week I'm going to stop into 1 realtor. Every week I'm going to reach out to a new plumber or HVAC person. All these little incremental things will start becoming part of your process, and you'll be shocked. It's like that $12.83 a day. It's not a big deal. But over the long term, it's going to result in 1 to 2 new meters a week. So that's where we want to go with this overall process. Make sense?
Hey, Jim, is
Yes.
this cookbook form that you're talking about, is this available that you can send to us in an Excel format so we can document each cookbook on here for each of
I
these?
don't have it in Excel. I send it over in Word, but let me see if I do have it in Excel, which at least that'll get you started, but you can modify it from that standpoint. I'll see if Denise could put it together for you, and I'll send it over to you. That does make sense.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so that's right, because I calculate them just with my little handy dandy calculator. But you're right, if I put it into Excel, that might make it a lot easier for you guys just to see. The thing is, now here's the deal. Don't get intimidated by it. When you're looking at these conversion ratios, they are a guess, best guess. As you measure them over the course of the year, you'll start be able to make better forecasts. And this way you'll know, you and your manager and me will work together to know, what do I need to do to up my rate of meters that are coming in? Okay? It's easy to do, but it just takes a little bit of thought, and you'll tweak it every month or every 2 months, just so you have a pattern to follow from a goal setting standpoint.
So when they're doing that, Jim, is it helpful to know? So if we know, if we know somebody talked to or saw 1,500 customers or 2,000 customers, let's say last year.
Yep.
And out of those, they got 1,000 customers.
Yep.
So if their goal, went up 20%, is it fair to work backwards from there, assuming the same close rate, if you will, and then that'll dictate how many cold calls you need to make, canvassing, networking, referrals, et cetera?
Yes, so what you want to do is work backwards. So your best data is historical data. You can make other assumptions that based on the economy, your closure rate might become softer or less. So you can make those assumptions, again, because it's a guess, but I would always use historical data, what we've seen. What we know is, I want to break it down to different phases to know if something else is not working. For instance, if I'm having a lot of conversations and we're not moving over to first appointments, maybe I'm calling on the wrong neighborhood. Maybe I'm calling on more economically depressed area. Maybe I'm calling on somebody who they have different things going on. So there's a lot of analysis that we could dig into it, and we will. But the first thing is, that's where we start, and you'll learn that you could start tuning this a little bit more and more to get more predictability. Because the bottom line is, I've got to know what I need to do, and this I can control 100%. This can get slushy, but if I know what I need to do every single day in the beginning, okay, and I'm not hitting my numbers, I could increase this or tweak this in a different manner. It's a GPS. The GPS sometimes has roadblocks. For instance, 3 months ago, you couldn't do door knocks. Today you can. 3 months ago, right? It's a different process, but in 6 months, street canvassing and door knocks are wide open. Okay, so it's a different environment that you're going to be working with, and that's really what we're working with on here. Okay, so yeah, so I'll be talking to the 3 of you to try to start tweaking this, and we'll use what we've done down south kind of as a starting point, because your business is all a little bit different, but this is where we're going with this. So we'll talk a little bit about this next session. I'll talk with Carl, Mark, and Gary before the next session, so we start tightening it up, but that's what we want to be able to walk out with as we go into the fall. Okay, to have some guideline to how do we get started on this. Cool?
Yep.
All right, I'm a little bit over. So what I want to do, why don't we just do lessons learned? and we'll get into whatever we didn't catch here. But bottom line here, goal setting. It's on your PowerPoint that I sent you. Create a dream list, prioritize values, put together some categories, right? Create your cookbooks, and then focus on what do you need to do every single day to be successful. And if you do what you're supposed to do, enjoy your family, enjoy life. If you don't do it, then you carry guilt with you, right? Don't focus on end results. Focus on the behavior that goes into creating them. Okay? Awesome. Good job today, guys. So, all right, let's do a quick lessons learned, and I'll get you out of here. Okay? Who do we want to start with? Let's start with Lucas. What'd you get out of today? Anything?
Well, yeah, I mentioned before the reticular activation. Then on the second half, just with like goal setting and the reasons why most people avoid goals, and something as simple as writing something down is, all you really need. And also saving $12.83 a day.
Yeah, awesome. Good. Mary.
What really stood out was the $12.83 over 40 years. I have a 22-year-old. I'm going to get him started on that. But more
Go
importantly,
on the math, by the way.
yes. But more importantly, I am so psyched and motivated that I have my to-do list of first, as soon as I finish here, I'm going to call up marketing tools that I need to succeed to get me started. So it's very good. Thank you.
Fantastic. John Johnson.
Love the cookbook idea. There's a lot of ingredients that I need to go over and try to get to a final product. So I
Cookbook just takes a lot of stress out of my life. I don't like wondering. I want to know, what do I need to do to be successful? Good. Matt.
Yeah, I think for myself, as far as goal setting, looking at the bigger picture long term is a good way for me to start, and then kind of work backwards to more current goals.
Yeah, everything's a reverse engineering process. I told you I'm a recovering engineer. Everything's reverse engineering. Mo.
Goals, and more goals, I have to say. So it makes me more motivated. Actually, I just print out the goal sheet and start working on it.
Cool. Kevin.
I like the referral.
Yep.
I think that really, in my view, I mean, you want to have goals that you can reach. Once you reach 1, 2, 3 of them, then you snowball.
Good. John Cody.
I think leaving them with the one more thing is something that gives them extra emphasis on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish, and hopefully get you back in the door and somebody else's door.
It plants seeds, man. You'll be amazed at how it works. Matt, did we call on you yet? Yeah, we called you. All right, Carl.
The importance of goal setting and how it can lead to forming good habits, and it just becomes second nature once you instill it inside you.
Good. Mark.
I like the cookbook and the simplification of goals, making them feel more tangible, not overwhelming.
Yep.
And I also like the quote, if you don't have your own goals, you're part of someone else's. I thought
that'll wake you up, right? And Gary, bring us home.
There's a lot I like, Jim. So I do like the idea of the cookbook and goal setting. I think that's going to add a tremendous value for us. And then the other two pieces, the techniques, the one more thing, I love that. To what John Cody had mentioned, you kind of leave that doubt or that question in their mind to give you a call back. And then obviously the referral program, I think that's going to be very, very beneficial for us in maintaining and achieving our goals. So.
Good. So next time we're going to focus on many of the things, because I'm not going to see for a while after the next. And I'm also going to talk about contractors and the engagement for contractors and realtors. We want to pull that in, and then we'll pull all the other things in and start drilling. So that should give you guys a good start and a good setup for rushing into your busy time of the year. All right? All right, guys, give me a call if you have any questions. Be happy to walk you through this, and I'll be reaching out to the managers just to clarify to get set up with the cookbooks. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Guys, have a great day.
All right, have a great
Thanks,
day,
Jim.
everybody.
See ya.
Okay.
Yeah.